Okay, we're getting close, people. Close to launch time.
Luckily, Randy doesn't have to log in anymore. Otherwise, we'd be
Yeah, right.
late if we had to.
Right here. Well, you always call for welcome. Can't you hear my loud, obnoxious voice?
Are you going out tonight or are you skipping tonight?
I went over there.
We already missed it. It's computer.
You played the video already? Okay, are we ready, guys? Guys and girls? Are we ready, everyone? I mean, what's a woman? Okay, let's call this meeting to order. It is 6:01. It's time to call roll. Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Commissioner Diedrich,
Here.
Commissioner Long,
Here.
Commissioner Madrid,
Here.
Vice Chair Thomas,
Here.
Chair Ledoux.
I am here. Thank you. Pledge of Allegiance. We have the distinguished Casson Klein in the audience. Would you mind leading us in the pledge?
Place your hands over your heart and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Okay, item 4, presentations. There are no presentations tonight. Item number 5, agenda modifications. I understand there may be a modification to tonight's agenda.
Yes, Chair. In collaboration with the applicant, we are requesting to continue item 10.2 tonight.
Okay, thank you. Okay. We need to have an approval of tonight's agenda with the modification. Can I get a verbal motion second? Or all in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, hearing none. Move along. Okay, item number 6, public comments on non-agendized items. Do we have any requests to speak tonight?
We do not.
Okay. All right, approval of the minutes. I'll need to get an approval of the minutes for April 26, 2023. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none. Okay, item number 8, nothing on the consent calendar for tonight. Moving right along to number 9, our public hearing item, 9.1. Could the Community Development Director please introduce this item?
Thank you, Chair, Commissioners. Tonight we have Principal Planner Doug Darnell presenting this item. It is a general plan amendment to the circulation and safety elements of our general plan. So, Doug?
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. The item before you is a city-initiated general plan amendment to both the circulation and safety elements of the general plan. First, the proposed safety element amendment adds clarifying language to describe the city's local hazard mitigation plan, also known as the LHMP, and incorporate the recently adopted 2022 LHMP by reference into the safety element. This amendment is necessary to comply with state requirements, AB 2140. In addition, the proposed circulation element amendments involve changes to the roadway network map, Exhibit C3 of the circulation element, to modify various roadway segments or designations to resolve conflicts and inconsistency with existing rights-of-way and establish patterns of development. These are map changes only and do not involve any proposed roadway construction improvements. As shown here, this is the proposed LHMP language for the safety element. This language was drafted to comply with AB 2140 and has even been reviewed by the state, and they're good with it. So for the circulation elements, amendments are proposed at 9 different locations where there are conflicts between existing conditions and what's reflected in the existing circulation element roadway network map. These are essentially cleanup amendments to areas that were identified in a collaborative effort between planning and engineering staff. Amendments for each area will be discussed in the following slides. So for Area 1, this involves realigning the 4-lane major divided roadway segment for Getz Road to terminate at a 90-degree angle with Valley Boulevard, as shown here. This will align with dedicated right-of-way for Getz Road, which was part of the existing approved Cimarron Ridge development. Area 2 involves realigning the 4-lane secondary undivided roadway segment for Chambers Road to align with the Chambers Avenue right-of-way, which is a straight segment existing between Sherman and Encanto roads. For Area 3, this involves realigning the 2-lane collector roadway segment for Evans Road to align with the existing dedicated Evans Road right-of-way north of Rouse Road. For Area 4, this involves removing the 2-lane collector designation for Presley Street between Rouse Road and Sun City Boulevard. And this change is proposed because Presley Street, as it's currently built, functions as a 36-foot wide residential local street and is unable to function as a 44-foot wide collector as currently designated. Area 5 involves 2 parts. First one is removing the 4-lane secondary roadway segment for Watson Road west of Sherman Road. And then the second part, extending the 2-lane collector segment for Sherman Road south of Watson Road to connect with SR 74. The existing right-of-way is in place for Sherman Road, but not for Watson. Okay, for Area 6, this involves realigning Garbani and Bradley roads where there's both 4-lane divided major roadway and 2-lane collector segments, making them straight segments to keep Bradley and Garbani Road within the existing established right-of-way. Area 7 involves removing the 2-lane collector designation for several roadway segments shown here between Murrieta and Winterhawk Roads, as these segments are built and function as residential local streets. Additionally, a two-lane collector designation is proposed for Winterhawk Road between Rim Creek Path and Newport Road. Area 8 involves removing the two-lane collector designation for several segments shown here between Tres Lagos Drive and South Shore Drive, again, as these are built and function as residential local streets. And the two-lane collector designation is proposed for South Shore Drive between Boris Drive and Tres Lagos. And finally, Area 9 involves realigning the four-lane divided arterial segment for Valley Boulevard to about 800 feet north of the current circulation element intersection. The new alignment would cross the Eastern Municipal Water District property to intersect at approximate 90-degree angle with Murrieta Road. And this alignment will also line up with the existing street alignment on the opposite side of Murrieta, Caminito del Sol Sur. So with that, the staff finds the project to be exempt from CEQA under the common sense exemption. As it can be seen with certainty, there's no possibility that the proposed general plan amendment would have a significant impact on the environment. And in conclusion, we recommend the Planning Commission adopt a resolution recommending that the City Council find general plan amendment number LR 230013 exempt from further review under CEQA, and that the council approve general plan amendment LR 230013 based upon the findings and conclusions in the staff report and resolution. With that, staff is prepared to answer questions. We also have engineering and public works staff available regarding any questions that may pertain to them as well.
All right, fantastic. Thank you, Doug. Do we have any questions for the staff at this time? Joe? No? Okay. We need to open a public hearing on this, so we'll do that. It is 6:11. Madam Clerk, was the hearing legally noticed?
Yes, it was.
Fantastic. And have we received any correspondence?
We have not.
Do we have any questions for, not the applicant, but the staff or anybody else? I think we're good. Okay. There are no conditions of approval, right? Okay. We're going to move right along. Are there any public comments for this item?
There are none.
Okay. Well, it is 6:12, so we'll go ahead and close the public hearing at 6:12. Any discussion amongst ourselves? Fantastic. Okay. So there is one resolution for adoption. We need a verbal motion and a second to adopt staff recommendations. I'll move.
Second.
Commissioner Long, is it coming up? There you go.
Okay, that passes surprisingly 5-0. Okay, moving on to item number 10, discussion items. 10.1. Could the Community Development Director please introduce this item?
Thank you, Chair, members of the Commission. Principal Planner Doug Darnell will also be presenting this item in collaboration with Carlos Geronimo, Principal Engineer from our Capital Improvement Program Division. So with that, go ahead, Doug.
Okay, thank you. And good evening again, Mr. Chairman and Commission. The item before you is a general plan consistency determination for the city's 5-year capital improvement program for fiscal years 2023 through 2028. So as part of the city's budget, the city is required to prepare an update to the capital improvements program for the next 5 years. And prior to approval of the capital improvements program, or CIP, and budget by the city council, the commission is required to make a determination on the CIP's consistency with the city's general plan goals and policies. So overall, the goals of the CIP are based on the framework of the city's mission statement, as you can see here. Menifee to be recognized as a safe, clean, vibrant, and innovative community which responds to the diverse needs of its residents, businesses, and visitors. The CIP is a plan for the city's long-term capital improvement needs and consists of the capital budget for the upcoming two fiscal years, 23-24 and 24-25, and the capital program and plan for capital expenditures extends beyond the budget for the upcoming next 5 fiscal years. So together, the two parts make up the city's 5-year CIP program. As shown here, the 5-year capital improvement plan consists of 80 capital projects and by project type, such as transportation, traffic signal, facilities, and community services projects. The full list of projects is provided in your staff report. And these projects reflect input and direction provided by the council at 2 recent CIP workshops. These workshops were held both on April 5th and April 19th. This shows projects which are priority projects included in the next 2-year budget in the categories of transportation and traffic signals. They include projects such as the Holland Road Overpass, Bradley Bridge over Salt Creek, and the Garbani Road I-215 interchange. Those are kind of the big ones. This shows projects that are priority for the next 2-year budget in the category of street improvements and pavement management projects. These examples of these include active transportation plan improvements such as the Romoland Grid area, Romoland Elementary School, and pavement projects for multiple road segments throughout the community. This shows projects which are priority projects for the next two fiscal years in the category.
Can we go back one slide?
Sure. Oh, I'm sorry. Bear with me.
The Murrieta Holland Road intersection, did they ever get that lot to have it go straight, or does it have to go to the right and then the left? Did they ever align it up to go over to Canyon Lake? Or is it in the plans, I should say?
You know, the specific, I'm not aware of the specifics of that. Maybe we can answer that question after the presentation?
Do we want to do that now, or do we want to wait?
Whatever, it's fine. Doesn't matter.
I think we can do it now. I mean, why not?
Okay.
We got to give Doug a break. He's got a long night tonight.
Chair Ledoux, Vice Chair Thomas, no, we have not acquired right-of-way as part of that project. We are looking at ultimate solutions for that intersection. This current project is just to add capacity at the intersections of Holland and Murrieta. Right now it comes to a pinch point in between the two intersections, so we're trying to open that up to get a little bit more capacity as we work on a longer range solution for that that intersection. We did apply for grants to improve the Murrieta corridor through that area, but unfortunately we were unsuccessful. We will continue to apply for grants and also work towards an ultimate configuration of that intersection. But this is a temporary fix to gain some capacity that will help alleviate some of the traffic congestion at that intersection.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, moving on. This next slide shows projects which are priority projects in the next 2 years. Categories of drainage, public facilities, parks, trails, and recreation, and information technology. Some of these include the Civic Center and K. San Aceros parking lot improvements, Fire Station 76 and 68 improvements, and Evans Park North design and construction. So with that, this slide summarizes the number of projects and funding for each category, with 53 projects and funding of approximately $33.5 million for the next 2 fiscal years. So, moving on to the general plan, the part of this that the Planning Commission is being asked to do here tonight, and in regards to general plan consistency, and the commission is being asked to determine that the CIP is consistent with the general plan, and the general plan, which covers a variety of planning areas such as land use, housing, circulation, and economic development. State law requires the CIP to be consistent with the general plan, and the CIP is essential to facilitating and implementing the general plan for orderly development and timely extension and provision of facilities. As such, staff has reviewed the CIP projects for consistency with the general plan, and for the 5 broad project categories shown in bold here, all 180 of the 5-year CIP projects are consistent with and serve to implement policies of 6 out of 8 general plan elements. These elements include circulation, land use, community design, economic development, safety, open space, and conservation elements. None of the CIP projects conflict with any goals or policies of the general plan. So with that, just want to emphasize the Commission's review of the CIP is specifically limited to the determination on its consistency with the general plan, and not within the purview to approve the CIP projects or the budget themselves. So following the Commission's determination, the Council will consider approval of the CIP at a later date in June. Is when that's anticipated. So staff has also reviewed the CIP for compliance with CEQA and determined that the 5-year CIP is exempt from CEQA, as it's not considered a project. It's a fiscal budgeting and long-range planning tool and does not commit the city to construction or implementation of any specific project. And in conclusion, staff recommends that the Planning Commission determine the fiscal year 23-28 CIP is not a project per section 15378B4 of the CEQA guidelines, therefore exempt from requirements of CEQA, and adopt a resolution finding the fiscal year 23-24 to 27-28 CIP and corresponding fiscal year 23-24, 24-25 budget consistent with the adopted general plan. This time, staff is prepared to answer questions of the Commission. Thank you.
Chair, I'd also like to note that we do have several slides as a follow-on to the Commission's request for a future agenda item to address the public comments received for those parcels and the access along Bundy Canyon Scott Road. If we could have the PowerPoint presentation up, and maybe Carlos can just give you a high-level overview of that project in the CIP.
Yes.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Carlos Geronimo. I'm a Principal Engineer with the Capital Improvement Program Division. So I understand that you received a couple comments in the last Planning Commission meeting regarding two property owners that live in this area. It's over where the road curves, almost at the crest of the curve if you're looking at, top being north. And they were talking about questions about accessibility to their property. Just to go back. Okay, just a little background on the project itself before we get into the details of that access. So, Bundy Canyon Road, it starts in the city of Wildomar, and it switches to Scott Road in the city of Menifee overall, and it continues east to Murrieta Road and eventually to the county areas connecting Winchester Road. So it's a major thoroughfare for the region, not just for the city. It's currently the roadway from the I-215 to the 215 is a 2-lane rural roadway. It's very deficient. 3 miles of this corridor are in the city of Menifee. So the statistics from 2017 through 2022, there's been 134 accidents reported just within the city boundary in those 3 miles, out of 4 were fatal. Unfortunately, this road has some severe issues in terms of geometry, safety, that poses a danger to the general public. The city's general plan designation for this for Bundy Canyon Scott Road is a 6-lane urban arterial. So what the CIP is planning to do is construct an interim roadway, so which we're going to widen the existing roadway from 2 lanes to 4 lanes with a double left turn median, a 14-foot median, and adding 10-foot bike lanes which can be used as shoulders. So when people are getting into their driveways or other side streets, they can safely pull out of the main traffic. Most of the accidents that were recorded were so rear ends and head-on collisions, people trying to avoid cars in front of them that stop suddenly. So this will improve safety in this area of the city. Okay. So, let me go back, apologize. And, well, I went too far now. Let's see. They can go back to that blob slide, one more. Okay. So in terms of accessibility, because we're widening the roadway, all those driveways and accesses onto Scott Road currently are going to be impacted in one way or another, right? Some of them are going to be realigned, and that's what the project is looking diligently into, preserving as many of those current access as possible. Not every access is going to be salvaged, unfortunately, because of how the roadway is expanded. But we're looking at solutions, and we're still developing the plans. We're currently 60% level plans, and in due time, we're going to be speaking to each property owner that's affected and how to mitigate those the widening projects to their properties. Okay. So with that, if you have any additional questions, I may answer. Yes.
Thank you, Carlos. That was going to be actually my first question was, are we inviting the homeowners in to talk about what the plans are and how it may affect their individual properties and maybe get some
Yes,
input
in due
from
time
them,
we
so.
will be. Right now, we're going through our environmental process. We have NEPA requirements, which we can't really engage the property owners until we finish that process first, and we know the exact limits of impacts. And then we can engage the property owners and work with them.
Very good. I think they'll appreciate that they're being heard and getting input from them as well. So that'll be good.
Yep.
Anybody else have any other questions, Chris?
So can we go back to the graphic?
The aerial graphic?
Yeah,
Okay.
that right there, that one. So trying to understand, were the people that were speaking on the north side of the road or on the south side of the road?
I think they're on the south side. I think it's on those 3 lots, they're kind of in the middle, on the south side of Bundy Canyon Road.
So if you widen a road and take away their access, is somebody gonna put a road in behind them to have access to come in?
Yeah, right now we're looking at to those possibilities to exactly determine, we still haven't determined the exact impacts of the roadway and to those properties. If we can salvage the access, we will. If not, then we'll provide access somewhere else.
Now, how come they're losing access, yet you have houses all along Bundy that are not losing access?
Because we try to fit the roadway as much as we can to preserve as many of the access points. In some areas, some of the houses are set back quite a bit far away, so their access, even though there's a difference in elevation, we're able to go into those properties and grade the access.
Oh, okay.
Right, so it's not like we're gonna cut off everything right at the point. We're gonna have to do some more grading and improvements inside of those properties.
So are these lots higher elevation?
These particular lots are, yes, are high in
Okay.
elevation, yeah.
Okay. Because I think the concern that they vented was, how are we gonna get to our properties?
Yeah.
And it looks like there's I don't know if that's a road or just a parcel line behind it.
Yeah, Springtown,
Okay,
yeah,
Springtown
yeah.
goes in there, yeah, okay.
So
Is
it's
it-
partially, looks like it's partially dedicated roadway, but it doesn't go through all the way, right? But
That
we are
stops at
proposing
that.
to, with our project, we're proposing to dedicate a connection from Springtown, and the other one, I can't make up the name of it, but it will have an actual right-of-way dedicated access onto Bundy Canyon and this area.
So how does that work if, like, these homes were designed to be accessed from the front, and here we're gonna, for good reason, have them accessed from behind? Does the property owner get compensated at all? Because, like, if that was my house and I had my back fence and no real driveway in the back, I mean, how do you do it? And
Yeah, everybody.
Vice Chair, my apologies, this
ahead.
Ty here. I just wanted to interject a little bit because this is a kind of broad overview of the CIP plan and not project specific. And so if this does come back, you have an opportunity to ask these questions, get in more detail. But we just wanted to bring this back so that you had a sense that staff is working on it and addressing resident concerns because it's not agendized specifically for this
Sure,
project.
sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ty. Joe, on that note, did you still want to say something?
Yes. Joe Long here. First, I would like to express my sincere appreciation for your presentation, Bundy Canyon Road. After the hearing last time, when we heard a number of homeowners complaining about traffic incidents, I drove by the road and I saw a lot of road improvements by different municipalities. That's a tremendous improvement. So with your plan, it's going to improve the safety much, much more. And for our Scott, because this road's going to be turned into Scott Road, it's going to be much better for Scott Road as an alternate route to the highway. So I would like to say thank you very much for your work. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thanks, Joe.
Okay.
Anybody?
Yeah, and I'd like to say, on behalf of the Planning Commission, we appreciate that you responded to the community's questions and needs in a quick way. Thank you.
Thank you.
I do have one other, not about this project, don't worry. But actually, no. So on that list of, can we go back to the list of the projects, especially the road improvement and traffic list? I noticed there, obviously, the Holland Road overpass is getting built. So what's the priority? Are these listed in priority or just in alphabetical? I mean, is there a priority on this?
Just by project number, looks like, yeah.
Okay. So what would you say the top 4 priority projects are that have full funding, highest priority, and dedication to the city getting done?
Well, all of the projects are priority projects. That's why they're getting funded this fiscal year. They fit within the 1 and 2 categories of priority. As far as full funded projects, Holland Road is already being built. This is just additional funding to cover some expenses that weren't unforeseen expenses. Bradley Bridge over Salt Creek, we will be completing the funding for this project as well. Garbani Road interchange, we will be moving into the environmental phase for that interchange with this funding. Excuse me, Paloma Wash pedestrian bridge will be fully funded. And as Bailey Park Boulevard as well. The McCall Boulevard widening will be fully funded. We received a grant for the McCall Boulevard widening for $3.1 million, so this will complete the funds for most of those transportation projects now. So.
And on the Garbani Road 215 interchange, I assume the 2.7 is just
the
portion,
environmental phase.
Just environment. I think, what is the whole thing, like 30 million or something?
More like 60 million, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a question. So does budget, prices, inflation, et cetera, since we have a 5-year plan, does that ever affect the priority of the CIP?
Funding does. As funding becomes available, for example, if we receive grant funds for a project, that gets moved up because there is priority in using those funds by a certain time. So that gets prioritized. So every year we come and evaluate a project based on where they are in funding, or there is other requests or priorities from the city council.
But these numbers are based on today's numbers, so you have to juggle them a little, I guess.
You're correct. We do use current day dollar values. However, we also include contingencies because we know that there's inflation and escalation. Priorities are based off of a lot of factors. The funding is one of the primary, but we also have to look at what status we are in design and phase and in our environmental clearance. So most of these projects you're looking at in this list are multi-year projects because they're major improvements, like the Garbani Road interchange. That's a 7 to 10 year project at best as you work through all the different phases of design, because you have to go through a PID document, which we just completed, which is a project initiation document, and then we go into PA and ED. That's a 18 to 24 month process. But with the Garbani, we do have monies to go from PA and ED, and then we're proposing to move directly into PS&E right after that to keep that project continually moving because it is long. As Carlos has mentioned, the Bradley Road Bridge will probably be the next big project that you see hit the streets because we're finalizing all the funding for it, and then we're at the very tail end of completing the PS&E and the environmental documents. So that's going to be the next major project that you see advertised for construction on that transportation list. And same thing with the Paloma Wash. And I know we're getting way outside of our realm, so.
I just was going to ask
Yeah.
if you can define your acronym PS&E for the commission, please.
Plan, specification, and estimates.
Thank you. I mean, I knew that, but.
So I see we're in
Other
conformance.
commissioners.
CIPs are in conformance with the general plan.
Joe, did you have a question?
Yes, just a general question. At the moment, we have traffic problem on our Newport Road at the marketplace. So I was looking on the transportation projects. I saw a number of projects improving traffic in the area. One particular project is Han Road widening. However, there's no budget for it.
So we do, the 5-year plan looks at what our infrastructure needs and something that we're proposing to get to within the 5 years. So when we do have a project in there, we're looking for other types of funding sources constantly. Carlos and his team are constantly writing grant applications for projects that are on that list to be successful. We just last week were informed that we're receiving up to $13 million for 2 two other projects on that list. So we're constantly going after that. That's why we want those on those lists, so we can apply for it, because that shows that the council is calling it a priority, and that helps our grant applications.
Great.
If I can add to that, that's a really good example, a specific example of the findings we're looking to make. Han Road, that corridor is in our circulation element, and so identifying it on our CIP as a need for future improvements to be consistent with our circulation element, there's that in conformity comparison there.
And I will add, like I mentioned to you, Commissioner, the Holland Road project will help traffic in that area, as well as the city is working on a traffic signal interconnect project along Newport in the vicinity of this area. So those will help alleviate traffic in that stretch of roadway that you mentioned.
Yeah, Mr. Padilla makes a great point. The Holland Road, when that's constructed, will provide another alternate route for our local residents to get over and across the I-215, because right now all of them have to come to Newport to go to Han. The Holland Road will provide a link between the east and west to connect, so they can come use those the resources at that shopping center as well.
Yeah, that's going to be huge.
Excellent. One more question. I've been reviewing your list, and a number of proposals, projects for improving roads to local schools, elementary and high school and middle school. Excellent. I see a number of projects. We really need to provide better transportation means for local students, especially road widening, sidewalk. So I thank you very much. So many projects on the list for schools.
And just to reiterate, we completed an active transportation plan a couple of years ago, and we're also in the process of doing a complete streets plan, which kind of goes into that same vein of promoting safer environment for all users, people walking, bicycling, even public transportation and private transportation as well. So we're continuously looking for ways to make our roadways safer for everybody.
Thank you.
Is the intersection of Bradley and Newport, we had that project that fell away because next to the Newport, shops at Newport or whatever that is, it fell away because the project fell off. Is that in the CIP?
I'm sorry, you're Bradley and Newport. You're talking about the
Next to,
the northeast corner.
Yes.
yes, yeah, where we were gonna put the median in and it didn't work out.
So we have a project in the CIP for raised medians on Newport, which we're going through design, which will add some turning capacity, that will make some configuration changes at that intersection. Unfortunately, right now we only have funding for design. We don't have funding for construction. But like I said, we're always applying for grants. We have applied for grants for that one in the past, but we'll continue to do the same, because that's to build medians, to complete medians on Newport from, right now I think the end of it is at Bradley and all the way to Murrieta.
Okay, Joe.
Yes. Do you have an approximate timetable for the construction of the Menifee City Hall?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Construction schedule for the city hall?
We're actually working towards, we've done a needs assessment study. We're working through a financial study that would show how we could construct this, but we're in the very early stages of it. We're looking at potential options on how to construct it, whether we do a conventional design bid build, a P3, which is a public-private partnership, or a lease back. So we're working with Urban Futures, who's helping us with all of our financial opportunities to develop that project. So unfortunately, I do not have a timeline because we're looking at the financial obligations right now. But our goal is to have something done within the next 3 to 5 years. That's our target. We're at very early stages, though.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we've got all of our questions and comments out. Yeah. Okay. Madam Clerk, are there any requests to speak?
There were not.
Okay. I'm sorry? I don't think so. Okay, and then we've got our questions and comments answered, correct? Okay. So there is one resolution for adoption. We'll need a verbal motion and a second to approve the staff recommendations.
So moved.
Okay, that passes 5-0. We're tabling, continuing 10.2. So, moving right along, brings us to the Community Development Director comments. Do you have some fun stuff for us tonight?
I do not have any updates tonight. Thank you.
Okay. Any commissioner activities or committee activities to report? Nope. Okay. Any future agenda item requests? Okay. It is 6:46. This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.